It's game day, Pitt fans. It's finally here. Your long wait since the Cal game is over. Your 6-0 Pitt Panthers will put that undefeated record on the line tonight against Syracuse at Acrisure Stadium. They'll put their top 20 ranking on the line tonight against Syracuse in Acrisure Stadium. The second half of the season kicks off. As interesting a half season, as interesting a 6-game stretch as we've seen around here in at least 3 years coming up. And I'm pretty excited about it. I think you're probably pretty excited about it too. This Pitt football team has surprised a lot of us by going 6-0 through the first half of the season. But as we all know, the level of difficulty increases considerably in these final 6 games of the regular season. And it starts tonight against a Syracuse team that maybe hasn't really been tested, but is still very dangerous. And I think is going to test Pitt in a lot of ways that the Panthers are going to have to respond to. And it's going to be an interesting challenge. It's going to be a challenge. I don't think there's any question about it. I think there are very few outcomes in this game that would surprise me outside of a blowout one way or the other. I think I'd be surprised if Pitt blows out Syracuse, and I think I'd be surprised if Syracuse blows out Pitt. I'm not ruling out the possibility of a 10, 12, maybe even 2-touchdown lead. Not 10 touchdown or 12 touchdown, but 10 or 12 point win or a 2-touchdown win for either of these teams. But I don't think a certifiable blowout is really in order. I think these two teams, I don't know if I would entirely say they're evenly matched, but I think they each have things that they can do that will give the other trouble. And that makes for what should be a compelling matchup. Put it in prime time on Thursday night with a national TV audience and Larry Fitzgerald in the house. Yeah, this is about as good as it gets. It's going to be a lot of fun tonight, I think, and we'll see how it goes. I think Pitt's going to win this game. I mean, we'll get into the nuts and bolts of it in a second. Yes, we're going to talk football on today's video. Some people say Actually, I shouldn't even say some. There's like 1 or 2 people who think that we don't talk enough football on these Morning Pitt videos, which is funny to me considering we talk football every day, and sometimes we branch out and have some different conversations. But it's okay. These free videos will continue whether we talk about football, basketball, volleyball, or whatever it may be. We're going to break down this game and talk about what we think Pitt needs to do to win and how we see it playing out. But ultimately, when it comes down to it, I think Pitt will win this game. I think the Cal game, and I'm like doing the last thing first. I'm giving my prediction here at the beginning of the video instead of waiting until the end. I'm supposed to build up to it, right? Well, I think the Cal game was eye-opening for Eli Holstein. And probably to a lesser extent, or maybe the same extent, Cade Bell. I think it was eye-opening for those guys on offense about what they need to do. I think it was eye-opening about what they did well in the first 5 games, but also about what they really need to emphasize. I mean, we've talked about the depth and how far downfield and trying to push the ball, trying to take those home run shots when you really should probably settle for easier passes that are open and just matriculate the ball downfield dink and dunk style, right? I mean, that's a very effective way to play football. It's an effective way to move the offense. And I think when you've got a really good offensive design, a really good offensive scheme, and good play design and good play calling like Cade Bell has shown through the first 6 games, and you've got good route runners and good receivers and tight ends and running backs who can run those routes well and get open and find the openings in the defense, take those passes. Take those passes. Take them all day long until Syracuse, if Syracuse tries to take away your deep passing game, take those short underneath things. Take those short things in the flat. Take those quick, easy passes that get you 7 yards and keep doing it. Just a death by a million paper cuts, although a 7-yard gain is a pretty big paper cut if you ask me. But just pick them apart until they have to react to it. And then you'll have your opportunities to go downfield. I think this team was good. I think Eli Holstein was good in the first 5 games about being particular about when they took those shots downfield. They need to get back to that. And there were plenty that Eli Holstein got away with in the first 5 games. I mean, the pass to Dejon Reynolds, come on, how many times is that really getting catch? The one in the West Virginia game for the touchdown, the 40-yard pass in triple coverage. How many times is that getting caught? Probably fewer times than it's getting, dropped or intercepted, right? There was a pass that I keep coming back to, this early pass against North Carolina, pass to Kanate Mumfield in the first First quarter, it was down the left sideline for like 40 yards or 43 yards or something like that. That's a high degree of difficulty catch. It was a great catch by Konate Mumpfield, a great play, and mad props to Eli Holstein for trusting Mumpfield to go make that play. But it's not a catch that's going to be made with a high degree of consistency or regularity or reliability. Pick and choose those plays. Oh, so, those times it worked out. Against Cal, it really didn't work out. I think Holstein was 2 of 8, 2 of 9, something like that, on passes more than 10 yards downfield against Cal. It's what Cal was emphasizing. Plus, they're good at getting interceptions. They came into the country came into that game leading the nation in interceptions, and so that kind of worked out like you would expect if Holstein was going to force the ball downfield. So tonight, if Syracuse says, no, we're not going to let you hit those deep passes, we're going to try and do what Cal did, which is everyone's greatest fear on the message boards, is that Syracuse is going to do what Cal did. If that actually turns out to be the case, that Syracuse tries to mimic Cal, great. Take what they're giving you, because whatever they do, they're going to be giving you something. So take it and keep taking it and taking it and taking it until Syracuse has to adjust. And then maybe you'll get your opportunities for those downfield throws. But with Desmond Reed, Gavin Bartholomew, and the 3 main receivers, you've got a lot of options of guys to throw it to at a short or medium distance who can get open, make those catches, and either get 5 to 7 yards or break a tackle or make a guy miss and pick up more. Sounds like a great way to run your offense, particularly when you want to run tempo. Like, hit those short passes, hit those 5-yard passes, 7-yard passes, 9-yard passes. Just boom, boom, boom. Get back up on the line of scrimmage and hit another one. Back on the line of scrimmage, hit another one. Back on the line of scrimmage, hit another one. Until Syracuse doesn't know which way is left and right, and they're running toward the wrong bench, and they don't know what's going on. And then, when you've really got them confused and their heads are spinning, take that shot downfield. I should be calling plays. I should be like that guy in the... which game was it? The guy that had the Waffle House... was the Florida State game maybe, or maybe the Texas-Georgia game, the guy that had the Waffle House menu and no shirt and the headphones on like he was calling plays? I should be calling plays out there like that guy. But I'm going to keep my shirt on as we go through this video. All right, let's talk about this Pitt-Syracuse game. And also, because, these Morning Pitt videos do relate to all of Pitt athletics, we got to talk real quick about Allen Greene. We met Pitt's new athletic director yesterday, talked to him for the first time at his introductory press conference, and then a small little media scrum off to the side. Good opportunity to kind of get to hear from him and get his perspective on things. And I think there was a lot to like. If you haven't checked it out yet, we've got videos here on youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com. We got write-ups and things on Panther-Lair.com. There's a lot of coverage of it. And if you haven't checked it out, I highly recommend it because I think you'll be impressed like I was. So let's talk about Allen Greene. Let's talk about Pitt-Syracuse. Let's talk about the longest intro in the history of Morning Pitt episodes. And let's dive into it here on the Thursday edition, the game day edition of the Morning Pitt on youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com. Yeah, that's right. It is the game day edition of the Morning Pitt. We never get to do game day editions of the Morning Pitt. I guess it's not about getting to do it. If we really wanted to do a game day edition of the Morning Pitt, we could just release a Morning Pitt on Saturdays and do a game day Morning Pitt. And now maybe we will. I don't know. We'll think about it. Probably not. But this is cool because today is a game day edition of the Morning Pitt. Whenever you're watching this, you're probably counting down the hours until tonight. We release these videos at 5 a.m. every morning. So when this video comes out, it's 12 and a half hours away from kickoff. Whenever you're watching it, it's all counting down from there, which is pretty exciting. Looking forward to a game. It feels like it's been a long time since the Cal game. So I think we're all looking forward to seeing this team in action. I suspect at some point tonight they will introduce Allen Greene, the new athletic director at the University of Pittsburgh. I suspect he'll be at Acrisure Stadium, and I suspect they'll make some kind of announcement or official introduction to the fans at the game. Greene had his introductory press conference yesterday, along with Joan Gable, the chancellor, and John Verbanek, the chairperson of the board of trustees. But obviously the featured guest was Allen Greene, the athletic director who came most recently from Tennessee. He had held the AD positions at Auburn and Buffalo. And we can talk about his history and things like that. And if you want to hold it against him because he basically got let go at Auburn, I mean, whatever. Like, I don't care. What's interesting to me And what was interesting that he said yesterday, because press conferences are press conferences. You're going to, you say what you want to say and, project the image you want to project. And then we see what if the actions actually match up with what you've said. But the thing that just stood out to me the most yesterday were comments that Allen Greene made about his commitment to NIL and his commitment to making Pitt committed to NIL and understanding the value and importance and significance of NIL. Because even if you want to, be high and mighty about it, that college student athletes shouldn't be paid and all this stuff, I mean, that's great. You're a dying minority and your voice is getting quieter every day. But if you want to stand on that hill, with a shrinking population, go ahead. Like that's fine. But there's what you want it to be and there's what it actually is. See, it's one way, you want it to be the other, but it's not. All right? Because what college sports are, college sports is a system where these players are getting money and they're getting money to go to a school. And talent acquisition is very much about more than just relationships. Relationships are absolutely crucial. And I think coaches like Pat Narduzzi and Jeff Capel stress that and try and make relationships important. However, it's not everything anymore. Just like attendance and national championships and campus environment and all those things are not everything anymore, because this NIL element is a big part of it. And you need coaches to be on board, but you need the athletic administration to be on board. And we beat this to death when talking about Heather Lyke, and we're not going to go there again, but we will talk about Allen Greene, who by his comments yesterday gets the importance of NIL, gets how important it is to have the athletic department of the university behind those efforts. And I asked him, I said, within the rules, and understanding the rules could change in an hour, what can you as an athletic director do to help the NIL efforts? And he said, look, I can help communicate it. I can communicate the importance of it to the community in order to get people to, get out the vote, so to speak, or get out the checkbook is more like it, and to contribute to NIL. And I think having an athletic director who shares that vision and that desire and that intention, and an athletic director who is able to go out and communicate with the fans and the donors and the boosters about the importance of NIL is absolutely huge, because there's still a big element. There's a significant element, I think, of college sports fans, not just at Pitt, but everywhere, who are skeptical about NIL. They're skeptical about collectives. They're skeptical about giving money to a third party with the pinky swear that you're going to give it, then pass it on to the players, that it's going to help the team get better players and then go win more games. There's an amount of skepticism there. And to some extent, I understand, because it's you're asking for a significant chunk of money, particularly from big money donors. And if you walk up to someone and say, we need you to give us $100,000, it's very possible that person would say, who are you? What are you? You're not part of Pitt. You're not officially, you're not an official organization of Pitt. You're not in the athletic department or the university. And I'm going to give you this money, and then it's going to get back to the players. That's a lot of money. And I'm not sure I can do it. And I understand that to a certain extent. But if you have the athletic director walking up to you at a function and saying, do you know my friends from the collective? Do you know my friends from Alliance 412 or whatever it may be? This is what we need to do. This is where we need the money to go. And you're always going to keep fundraising for scholarships and facilities and capital improvement projects. But but the NIL element, the collective, the third party needs that money too, or needs money too, in order to acquire talent, either through recruiting or the transfer portal, and to go out and win games. And so having the athletic department and the athletic director, and by extension the university, officially endorse these things, on a face-to-face basis, I think is absolutely huge. And Allen Greene gets that. So we'll see what kind of ideas he has, what he comes up with as far as motivating the fan base and getting the donors and all this stuff. But number one, that has to be there is the commitment. He talks about being innovative and proactive, and that's good, and he needs to be. But number one that has to be there from the very start is the commitment. And I think Allen Greene told us pretty clearly yesterday that he is committed to it. So we'll see where it goes from here, but it was good. If you haven't gotten a chance to check it out, we have a video of Allen Greene right here at youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com and a lot of coverage over the website, Panther-Lair.com, Pittsburgh.arrivals.com. All right, Pitt-Syracuse. What do the Panthers need to do? I already talked about Eli Holstein. Take what's there. Take what's there. I think they've got the players. I think they have the offensive skill players to score on this Syracuse defense. Now, they're probably going to be down 2 offensive linemen on the left side of the line. Branson Taylor and Ryan Jacoby both left that Cal game. I don't expect either guy to play tonight, is sort of my thought. In which case, you'll probably see Terrence Enos and Jason Collier out there. That's going to complicate things a little bit. Not that I don't think Enos and Collier are good, but when you go to backups, it gets a little bit more challenging. I actually think Enos can be pretty good. I'm sort of high on his ceiling of how he can do it left tackle, and if Taylor's done after this season, Enos would seemingly be the next guy in line anyway. But even with that, even with playing with backups, on the left side of your offensive line, I still think these skill players are good enough to make plays on this Syracuse defense. Eli Holstein simply has to take what's there. Something will be there. And it may take Holstein and Cade Bell a little bit of time to figure out what is there, but once they find it, they need to attack it. And I think both guys have done a really good job. Both guys did a really good job through the first 5 games. Hit a little bit of some bumps in the road in the 6th game, and now tonight is their chance to bounce back. So I'm looking forward to seeing how they bounce back. On the other side of the ball, huge challenge. Which I think has a lot of people believing this might end up being a shootout and that the over might hit, which usually if we're all convinced that the over is going to hit, it ends up being like a low-scoring game. But I could see it here. Pitt's offense should be able to score on Syracuse's defense, and certainly Syracuse's offense has been really good. A top 15 offense in the country, top 10 in some stat categories, great passing offense led by Kyle McCord, the Ohio State transfer, who has been exceptional this year. I think he has 19 touchdowns and 6 interceptions or something like that. He has been outstanding for Syracuse. I didn't know how good he really was when he was at Ohio State. Now at Syracuse, I think he's showing just how good he can be, and their offense has been rolling. So there's a question. There's a question of how do you defend Kyle McCord? What do you do against Kyle McCord? Do you try to blitz him? Do you try and drop and play coverage? And I looked at Pro Football Focus, looked at some of the things, some of the stats. Teams, it's a pretty even split between blitzing and not blitzing. Teams have blitzed Kyle McCord 46% of his dropbacks. They've not blitzed them on 48% or 54%. Goodness. But so it's really close. It's like a 54-48 or 54-46 split. Okay, so it's pretty close to 50-50. And McCord's production is pretty close to 50-50. He's thrown for 1,000 yards when blitzed and 1,000 yards when not blitzed. He's thrown for 9 touchdowns when he's not blitzed and 10 touchdowns when he is blitzed. He's thrown for 3 interceptions when he's blitzed and 3 when he's not blitzed. It's just, the numbers are roughly the same. It's all kind of right around that same area, whether you blitz him or not. I had the page pulled up. Let me bring it back up here. When he is blitzed, he completes about 63% of his passes. When he's not blitzed, he completes about 67%. So not a huge difference there either. It's all, he kind of reacts the same when he's blitzed and when he's not blitzed. I think probably the difference, as you might expect, is whether you get to him or not. It's whether you're able to create pressure either with the blitz or with just rushing 4, or if you keep him clean. Because there you see a little bit of a difference. When Kyle McCord has been kept clean on about 76% of his snaps, which is an important number, he's not getting a lot of pressure. When he's kept clean, he's thrown for 1,800 yards, 16 touchdowns, and 4 picks. When he's under pressure, his completion percentage drops 10 points to 57%. 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks. Now, again, it's not, it's about 230 dropbacks when he's kept clean and about 73 when he's under pressure, even though teams have blitzed and not blitzed about, right around 50%, that 54-46 ratio. So teams are trying to blitz and they're not really getting there. So, Kyle McCord has dropped back 140 times when teams have blitzed him. Teams have blitzed Kyle McCord on 140 of his dropbacks, and they've created 37 pressures out of the blitz, which is about 26% of the blitzing snaps resulted in pressure. If you compare that to Fernando Mendoza at Cal, and Pro Football Focus said that Pitt had a season-high 26 pressures on Mendoza at Cal. If you compare those two numbers, Mendoza on the season has been blitzed 92 times, and those blitzes have generated 45 pressures. So almost 50% of the blitz dropbacks have resulted in pressure from Mendoza, as opposed to about 26% of the blitz dropbacks on McCord. So what do we take from this? Should Pitt, since the blitzes don't always get home and create pressure, and they're getting just as many, opponents have gotten almost the exact same number of pressures out of non-blitzes as they do out of blitzes. So should Pitt stay home and try and play coverage and just win the battle up front with 4 and hope that they can just cover Syracuse's receivers downfield? Or should they just say, F it and throw caution to the wind and get after him? I go back and forth on what I think they should do, but I'm pretty sure Pat Narduzzi is going to take the latter. Pat Narduzzi has always been about aggressive defense. Pat Narduzzi has always been about getting after the quarterback and bringing pressure and bringing more guys than they can block in the hopes that your blitz and your pressure will get there before he can make a good read and a good throw. That's always been the goal. I just don't think they have that kind of drop into coverage scheme. That just rush 4, play coverage, and we'll just force him to throw incomplete passes all day because we cover so well. That's never really been Pat Narduzzi's MO ever. It's always been about being aggressive. It's always been about bringing the blitz. It's always been about trying to create pressure with overloads. And sometimes it's, getting creative. Their third down package, showing like they might rush 6 and they end up only rushing 3, or showing that they might rush 4 and they end up rushing 7 or something. Like they like getting tricky like that and messing with the quarterback's eyes, but they also just like bringing 4 or 5 or 6 guys and just get after it. And, we think Kyle Lewis is going to get to you before you can get the pass out, or we think Rasheem Biles is going to be in your face before you can make that pass. That's what they've always done. And I don't see any reason that they'll stop tonight. And to be completely honest, I think McCord is too good to try to drop back, to just rush 4 and play coverage against him. I just think he's too good. I think he'll pick you apart. A combination of McCord being really good and Pitt's coverage just being okay. I think you're just asking for trouble. If you are content to give Kyle McCord time, like I say, when he's kept clean, I think he completes like 67% of his passes. So why would you give him that? You might as well at least try to get after him. You might as well try to rush him and put him off his mark. You're coming off the best game of the season for your pass rush. Between the 26 pressures that Pro Football Focus says is the most that Pitt has had in a single game, add in the 6 sacks, Jimmy Scott getting 3, Kyle Lewis and Braylon Lovelace getting the other 3 between them. Your pass rush should be feeling good about itself. You got Sean Fitzsimmons back in the middle of the defensive line. Nate Matlack just keeps getting into the backfield. He's going to finish sooner rather than later. It might be tonight that Nate Matlack finally breaks through and breaks through and gets maybe his 2 or 3 sack game. So your pass rush has some momentum. Your pass rush seems to have improved. You've got the linebackers that can make plays. You might as well get after him. It's like it's not a perfect analogy, but you don't want to strike out looking. If you swing and you miss, at least you swinged. You might as well go after it. I know on the offensive side, we're advocating taking what's there and checking down and dink and dunk and all of that. But on defense, you're built to be aggressive. This has been the way it's been played for 10 years. Go get them. Go get them. Your pass rush is humming along. Jimmy Scott had 3 sacks last week. Sean Fitzsimmons is a wrecking crew inside. Isaiah Neal's coming on. Sincere Edwards keeps getting better. Francis Brew and Nakai Johnson. Nick James is back. And like I say, Matlack and Scott, like, those guys should be able to get there and put a little pressure on McCord. Force him into some bad throws. Make him more uncomfortable than he's been all season. See if you can get a couple passes. Now, the flip side is, we always talk about, the sort of feast or famine nature of Pitt's defense is that you're going to have, I think Phil Bennett, the Pitt defensive coordinator in the late 2000s, used to say, when you blitz, somebody's band is going to play. You just want to make sure it's yours. And I always, I like that sort of feast or famine feel, because it does feel with this Pitt defense, and it has for a few years, that either they're going to get to the quarterback or they're going to give up a long pass play. Chances are tonight they'll do a little bit of both. Actually, if they do a little bit of both, if they get to the quarterback and give up a few long pass plays, they'll probably win. They'll lose if they don't get to the quarterback and give up a few long pass plays. I think against a good quarterback like McCord, they're always going to give up pass plays. So maybe that's our first piece of advice for the fans heading into tonight. Don't lose your mind when they give up a long pass play. Seriously, because they're going to. Syracuse is going to hit a couple long pass plays. They're good. They have a great passing attack. They have a very good quarterback. Like, they're going to hit some of those. The key is offsetting as many as you can by shutting down the run and getting after the quarterback, getting into the backfield and getting sacks. So don't get too upset if they give up a couple long ones, especially in the first half. I think this defense has other things it can do. Even if they give up some big plays, they've got some things they can do to try and counteract it. I think it's going to be a great matchup. I'm really interested to see how it goes. I want to see if that pass rush does carry the momentum over from last week, because that was a huge game for Pitt's pass rush, and here's the opportunity to build on it and carry it forward. Don't forget, so we've got a live stream tonight after the game. We will be live 1 o'clock in the morning, whatever time it is. We will be live right here on youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com. And then tomorrow, there won't be a Morning Pitt video released at 5 a.m. But what we will do, I'm thinking around 10 a.m., we're going to do a live Morning Pitt. So we'll have our live post-game show tonight, and then with the whiskey, and then we'll have our live Morning Pitt tomorrow with coffee. No whiskey, unless we need it. So that'll be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to that. This is our first game day Morning Pitt, and tomorrow will be fun. It'll be our first live taping of the Morning Pitt. But first, we have the post-game show tonight, so make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and you don't miss that or tomorrow's show, all right here on youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com. Like this video and subscribe. The subscribe button's right down there, and then make sure you check out the website Panther-Lair.com, Pittsburgh.rivals.com. For all the Pitt sports news you can possibly handle. Panther-Lair.com, Pittsburgh.rivals.com. Yeah, thanks so much for tuning in today. Hope you've had a great week so far. It's game day. We made it. I'll see you at the stadium tonight, and then I'll see you after the game on the postgame show right here on youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com.